Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. This is Dr. Muhammad Shafiq, a lecturer in philosophy at Department of Islamic and Pakistan Studies. The course I'm teaching you is called Introduction to Philosophy, and the course code is PHI 101. This is lecture number 19, and today we are going to look into what is knowledge. This lecture starts another chapter of philosophy which is called epistemology. So this is the first lecture in which we are going to explain what is knowledge.
As far as knowledge is concerned, so the branch of philosophy that discusses knowledge is known as epistemology. So it is the field of epistemology which discusses what is knowledge, what are the types of knowledge, what are the sources of knowledge. We have tripartite theory of knowledge, and lastly we have Edmund-Gettier cases, which is actually a criticism of tripartite theory of knowledge. Now let's move to the next slide. Now, what does knowledge mean? The very word knowledge is derived from the very verb to know. Often, when we say we have knowledge, we mean that we know about something. We have an intuitive grasp of the concept. But in philosophy, there is a rigorous debate. It is not such an easy task to define knowledge. There are different philosophical views about knowledge. We have different types of theories. We have idealists, we have materialists. The skeptics have their own perspective about knowledge. We have phenomenalists, we have coherentists. So all these group of philosophers, they have their own views about knowledge. What does knowledge actually mean? Now, what are the types of knowledge? So we have basic three types of knowledge. One is personal knowledge, the second is propositional knowledge, the third one is procedural knowledge. By personal knowledge we mean knowledge by acquaintance. When we get familiar about a person or about a thing, then we have a personal knowledge of that particular person or an object. So, for example, if I say I know Mr. X, here I mean by know that I have a familiarity. I have met him. I have a sort of acquaintance with Mr. X. The second one is propositional knowledge, which is related to facts. If I say I know about Mr. X, here I am referring towards those facts, about those information that Mr. X is a student of philosophy, Mr. X is pursuing his higher studies, Mr. X is an intelligent guy. So all these information makes propositional knowledge. The third one is procedural knowledge, which is not usually applied to persons, it's applied to objects or things, which means how to drive a thing or how to juggle out a thing. For example, if I say, do you know how to ride a bicycle? Or if I say, do you know how to drive a car? So here actually I am referring towards those skills or the procedure that is involved in driving a car or riding a bicycle, which means that do you really have the skill how to apply the brakes or how to control the steering wheel or how to apply the clutch. So all these skills constitute procedural knowledge. Next to it, we have different sources of knowledge. First important source of knowledge is sensory organs. We have different sensory organs, like we have vision. We can see things in our eyes. There is retina, and whenever we see an object, so the light which is reflecting from that particular object falls on our retina, and there are some receptor cells in our retina, and those receptor cells change that physical energy into kind of neural impulse that is known as transduction. We can say it transduced that physical energy into a kind of neural impulse, and that neural impulse is sent then to the brain. We have audition as well. We can hear things. Same is the case with audition. We have receptor cells in our ears. We have smell, we have touch, and we have taste. So in all these sensory organs, we have some specialized particular types of receptor cells that transduce that physical energy into a kind of neural impulse, and then it is sent to the brain. This whole process is known as sensation. And later on, this manifold of sense data is organized by our mind, and our minds give it a meaning, what we call it perception. So it means that perception is actually a kind of organization of the sense data. So we can say whenever we have a perception about something, so we have the sense data. So sensation without perception is blind, and perception without sensation is empty. We have another source of knowledge, that is reason. By reason we mean the faculty of knowing, which is a very important source of knowledge. Often we apply our reason, the faculty of knowing. We compare, contrast, and analyze things. So it's a kind of reasoning. Next to it, we have other sources like traditions, authorities, intuition, and revelation. Tradition is a kind of knowledge which is transmitted from one person to another person. So, in fact, most of our social knowledge is preserved and transmitted through traditions. For example, if a person wants to get knowledge about a particular community, so he or she would be studying that folklore of that particular community, or by studying the stories which are prevalent in that community. So it is a source of knowledge, and we know about that particular community by those prevalent stories or folklore. It may be poetry or it may be music as well. Next to it, we have an authority. Now, what does an authority mean? By authority, we mean when one has a specialized knowledge or an expert view about a particular area. We often have authorities in different areas of knowledge. We have authority in the field of science, we have authority in the field of philosophy. For example, Albert Einstein is an authority in the field of physics. And often we rely on their opinions, on their insights. Those scientists, they are actually a kind of authority for us. Same is the case with philosophers. We have Bertrand Russell, the famous philosopher of the 20th century. His insights, his aphorism can be taken as a source of knowledge. Next to it is intuition. Now, what does intuition mean? Intuition is basically a kind of knowledge or awareness of something without conscious attention or reasoning. In philosophy, we can say the power of obtaining knowledge that cannot be acquired by others' inferences or by observation or by reason or experience. It is considered to be an original source of knowledge. When you become aware of some phenomena, or when you become aware of some fact suddenly in a flash of light, that is known as intuition. But there is a group of philosophers, they disagree. For some philosopher, it is a combination of past experiences and knowledge that results to a sudden insight or a solution. It's not very much sudden, but it's actually our past experiences, our past knowledge is working in our subconscious mind, and suddenly it comes to the surface of our conscious mind. Then we call it intuition. Next to it is revelation. Sorry, before revelation, I deem it important to give an example about intuition. So, we in logic or in mathematics, we have this kind of knowledge that is known as intuitive knowledge, which is not dependent on experiences or observation, which is totally independent of experiences. We have those postulates or axioms of mathematics. We have some necessary truths of logic, of which we become aware suddenly. And those facts are, in fact, not the result of other experiences. They are self-evidently true. A postulate or an axiom that is self-evidently true, and that is not dependent on that any other experience or observation. We may call it a kind of a priori knowledge. Next to it is revelation. This type of knowledge is related with religions. In religion or theology, revelation means revealing or disclosing a fact of some form of truth through communicating with a deity or other supernatural entity like God, or it may be an angel. So we have different religions, like we have Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. They have their own holy scriptures, and they believe that they are revealed to their respective prophets. For example, Jews believe that Torah was received from Yahweh on the biblical mountain Sinai, and the Muslim believe that Quran was revealed by God to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, word by word through the angel Gabriel. Same is the case with Christianity. Next to it is tripartite theory of knowledge. Now, basically, tripartite theory of knowledge was propounded by Socrates, but it was made public by Plato, and his famous book that is known as Theaetetus. According to tripartite theory of knowledge, knowledge is a justified true belief, which means that in order to know about something, or in order to have a knowledge about something, these three conditions must be met. This is the criteria. That is belief, justification, and the third one is truth. So the first thing is belief. Now, I'm sitting in front of a laptop. Now, if I claim to know about laptop, if I say this is a laptop, first of all, I must have a belief about this particular object, that is laptop. Secondly, I must have a justification. The justification may be that laptop is a machine through which a person can compute or can prepare a lecture, which is different from desktop or a palm top or from a cell phone. And that justification must be true as well. As far as truth is concerned, truth is really a debated concept in philosophy. There are different perspectives to truth. But here, by truth, I mean I will take truth in the sense of correspondence theory of truth. That my statements, if my statement and the actual state of affairs, they are telling with each other, then my justification is true. Otherwise, would be false. So here I am using this machine and I am preparing my lecture. So it is true, in fact. Next to it is, what is the criticism of Edmund Gettier as far as this theory, tripartite theory of knowledge is concerned? There is a famous philosopher, Edmund Gettier, who criticized this theory on the basis of his two famous cases that is known as Gettier cases. He actually published a paper which was published in 1966. I am sharing that paper in the KCMS account as well. So in that paper, he had a thought experiment. The first case is that knowledge without a belief. He compared two students. The students are, one is Mark and the other is Sam. They both appear in the exam. As far as Mark is concerned, he is very much studious in nature. He always prepares for the exams and he takes the classes regularly. And on the other hand, Sam is a student who is most often absent in the class and he doesn't work hard. So they both appear in the exam. Uh, After attempting the paper, both comes out of the class, and as far as same is concerned, same says that his paper went out in total disgust, and for Mark the paper was something very brilliant. They discuss that paper with each other, and afterwards same makes a belief, and that belief says the student will get the highest grade in the exam who shares name with the author of the adventure of Huckleberry Finns, because same things that uh, some of the questions, they were actually very much related to that book, that is the adventure of Huckleberry Finn, and the author of the Huckleberry Finn was Mark Twain. So it means that Sam had a belief that Mark will get the highest grade in the exam. But afterwards, what happens when the paper was checked by the examiner gave Sam the highest grade. Why? Because Sam has written a few lines, but he was able to elaborate the whole original point of the question, while on the other hand, Mark was not able to do that. Now, what happens about this belief? The student will get the highest grade in the exam who shares name with the author of the adventure of Huckleberry Finn. So again, uh, that belief becomes true because Mark Twain was the pseudonym. The actual author of the adventure of the Huckleberry Finn was Samuel Calimans. So here the student that was named as Sam shares with Samuel's. So here Gettier says that sometimes we have a belief and we have a justification, and that justification turns true as well, but still we cannot call it knowledge. Knowledge is something more than this. The second case is that of a student who appears in the exam, and there was a question, MCQ's question, that the Battle of Hastings occurred in 1066 AD, and the student is supposed to tick it whether it is true or false. Now the student ticks it true. When that student comes out of the examination hall, he's asked by other students, do you know about this, or do you have any belief that it is true? So that particular student neither has a belief nor he has a justification, nor he knows that whether it is true or false. Still his MCQ's question is considered to be true. Now here Gettier again says that sometimes we don't have a belief, we don't have a justification, and still we may have a knowledge. So that is knowledge without a belief. So from this discussion it is obvious, and Gettier has showed that tripartite theory of knowledge may involve a very may involve a type of luck. Things become true by luck. Things become true miraculously, in a sense. So Gettier criticized the tripartite theory of knowledge on the basis that knowledge is not something that could be defined as a justified true belief. It is something more than this. In the coming lectures, we will be discussing what are the other epistemic theories about knowledge, what is rationalism, what is empiricism, what is reliabilism, what is foundationalism, and what is anti-foundationalism. We will be trying to have a comprehensive view of what is knowledge. So thank you very much indeed.